Ladies, let me tell you something right now. Men don't miss you when you chasing them. Nah, they don't miss you when you blowing up their phone, double texting, checking if they ate, if they slept, if they still breathing. No, man, that don't make nobody miss you. And miss you when your presence is no longer guaranteed. That's the truth most people don't want to hear, but it's exactly how it works. When you're always there, always picking up the phone, always available, no matter how he treats you, he starts to take you for granted. It becomes routine, predictable, and anything predictable eventually becomes invisible. Your good morning texts, your check-ins, your emotional support, it all becomes background noise when a man knows without a doubt that you'll be there no matter what. Think about it. When something is always within reach, we stop reaching for. We stop valuing what's consistently given without condition. That's human nature. We notice absence more than presence. So when you start stepping back, not out of spite, not to play games, but to truly focus on yourself, to stop overextending, he starts feeling it. The air gets thinner. He realizes that the comfort he used to lean on isn't there anymore. That voice he was used to hearing every night, gone. That encouragement he didn't even realize he depended on, missing. That emotional safety net, pulled away. And that's when the shift happens. That's when the mind starts replaying moments. That's when he starts scrolling through old messages, looking at pictures, wondering where things change. See, men don't always process in real time. They don't always recognize what they're losing while they still have it. But when the energy shifts, when the love stops being poured out so freely, that's when it hit. The presence of a woman who truly cared is powerful, but her absence, that's unforgettable. You see, when a woman who gave everything starts to give nothing, it creates a vacuum. That space she once filled with attention, love, softness, that space echoes now. It reminds him what he didn't protect, what he didn't nurture, what he thought would always be there. And the crazy part is, he might not have even noticed how much you meant to him until you were gone. This is why you can't make your presence a guarantee for someone who treats you like an option. Your energy is valuable. Your time is sacred. And your love is not a given, it's a gift. The moment you start treating it that way, the people around you have no choice but to see it that way too. When you stop showing up for someone who didn't appreciate it, that absence becomes a lesson. It becomes a mirror. It shows him everything he failed to see when you were standing right in front of him. Stop chasing, start choosing yourself. That's the shift that changes everything. When you're in a space where you're constantly chasing someone, calling them first, texting them good morning every day, checking in even when they haven't responded to your last message, you slowly start losing pieces of yourself. And for what? To keep their attention? To prove your worth? That's not love. That's fear dressed up as effort, and it never leads to anything but exhaustion and disappointment. Chasing someone puts them in the driver's seat. It hands them all the power while you shrink yourself trying to earn something that should be freely given. Love, attention, effort, those things are mutual when it's real. You should never have to beg for what's meant for you. But when you chase, you send a message that you don't believe you're enough on your own. You start to compromise, to overgive, to accept half-hearted behavior just so you don't lose the connection. And slowly, you start disconnecting from the one person who matters most, you. Choosing yourself means flipping the script. It means waking up and realizing that you don't need to run after anyone who isn't running toward you. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and love are valuable, and not everyone deserves access to them. When you choose yourself, you start setting boundaries. You stop explaining why you're walking away from inconsistency. You stop lowering your standards just to keep someone around. You start protecting your peace like it's your most prized possession, because it is. It's not about playing hard to get or pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. It's understanding that if someone truly wants to be in your life, they'll meet you halfway. You won't have to chase them down, remind them of your value, or audition for a role that's already yours. Choosing yourself means prioritizing your growth, your healing, and your happiness. Even if that means walking away from someone you thought you wanted. It's a mindset shift. Instead of waking up wondering if they're thinking about you, you start thinking about how you feel in their presence. Instead of asking, what can I do to make them stay? You start asking, do they even deserve a seat at my table? You stop needing closure, validation, or reassurance from someone who couldn't give it to you when you needed it most. You learn to give those things to yourself. The chase ends when self-respect begins. And when you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, something powerful happens. The energy changes. People feel that. They sense the shift. And the ones who took you for granted, they start noticing your absence, your silence, your glow up. Because choosing yourself doesn't just change how you feel. It changes what you attract. The chase ends when self-respect begins. And when you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, something powerful happens. The energy changes. People feel that. They sense the shift. And the ones who took you for granted, they start noticing your absence, your silence, your glow up. Because choosing yourself doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what you attract. Silence speaks louder than attention. You can say everything you need to say by simply saying nothing at all. See, people get used to your words. They get comfortable with your explanations, your emotional breakdowns, your pleading, your check-ins, your long texts, trying to make them understand how you feel. But after a while, it stops hitting. They stop listening. They hear you, but they don't feel you anymore. Your words lose weight when they're too available. But silence shakes the room. When you stop talking, stop explaining, stop reminding someone of your worth, that's when the real message comes through. That's when your absence gets loud. Because silence doesn't just remove noise, it forces reflection. When someone can no longer hear from you, they are left with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own questions. Your silence becomes a mirror that shows them the impact of their actions. It's not a punishment, it's a boundary. And sometimes silence is the most powerful boundary you can ever set. People underestimate the power of pulling back. They think being quiet means you've given up. But in reality, being quiet means you've chosen peace. You've chosen dignity. You've chosen to no longer invest your energy where it's not appreciated. That's strength. Anybody can yell, argue, or demand attention, but it takes real self-control to say nothing, to let someone sit in the space they created when they stop valuing you. When you always talking, always reacting, always making noise, people learn how to tune you out. But when you go silent, now they're listening. Now they're wondering what's changed. Now they're uncomfortable because silence creates a shift. It turns the focus back on them. And if they care at all, they'll start asking themselves what they did to lose your words, your warmth, your presence. Silence also helps you, it gives you clarity, it gives you room to breathe, to reflect, to hear yourself think without the distraction of trying to fit someone else's mess. You stop waiting for replies. You stop obsessing over what to say next. You just exist in your peace. And from that space, you start healing. You start remembering who you are before you were over-explaining your value to someone who couldn't see it. Your silence tells the story. It says, I'm done explaining. I'm done proving. I'm done chasing. And you don't have to announce it. You don't have to post about it. You don't have to send one last message. The silence is the message. The absence is the answer. And trust me, when you stop pouring your attention into someone, when you stop showing up with words and start showing up with distance, they feel that. Even if they act unbothered, even if they pretend not to notice, they feel that shift deep down because they never expected you to fall quiet. Move like you have options, because the truth is you do. You might not feel it all the time, but the moment you start walking in confidence, the energy you carry changes. People treat you based on how you treat yourself. When you walk like you're the prize, when you speak like you know your worth, when you make decisions like you're not afraid to walk away, everything around you starts to shift. The way people approach you, the way they speak to you, the way they value your time, it all starts with how you move. When you act like someone's your only option, they start acting like they're doing you a favor. That's just how it goes. But when you carry yourself like you've got choices, like you're not afraid to lose what doesn't serve you, you flip the dynamic. It's not about being arrogant, it's about being rooted. It's about knowing that if someone isn't treating you right, you don't have to stay. You don't have to fight for a seat at a table where you're not being served. You can get up and walk away because you know there are other rooms, other tables, other people who will see you clearly. This doesn't mean you're jumping from one person to the next. It means you're not dependent on any one person to validate your worth. It means you're not settling out of fear. You're not shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You're not clinging to someone just because you don't want to be alone. When you move like you have options, you choose people who choose you back. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't negotiate your non-negotiables. You simply observe, and if something doesn't align, you keep it moving. It's a mindset. It's waking up and reminding yourself that you are the catch, that your love, your attention, your loyalty, it's valuable. And just because someone doesn't see it doesn't mean it's not real. It just means they're not your person. And that's okay. Because when you move like you have options, you're not afraid to start over. You're not afraid to be by yourself. You're not afraid to walk through a new door, even if it means leaving a few people behind. People can feel when you're desperate. They can sense when you're afraid to let go, but they can also feel when you're grounded, when you're not pressed, when you're not forcing anything, and that's powerful. That kind of energy doesn't chase, it attracts. When you move like you have options, you stop settling for the bare minimum. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who only see you halfway. You set the tone and others follow it or fall off. Pull back to protect your peace. That's not just a catchy phrase. It's a survival strategy. When you're constantly giving, constantly showing up, constantly available, you end up drained, depleted, and disconnected from yourself. Peace isn't something that just happens. It's something you have to fight for, protect, and prioritize every single day. Protecting your peace starts with boundaries, not walls, not ultimatums, boundaries. Clear lines that say this is what I will accept and this is what I won't. It's about knowing when to say no without guilt, when to walk away without apology, and when to choose silence over chaos. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about taking control of your own well-being. They're about recognizing that your time, energy, and emotional space are valuable and not everyone deserves access to them. Pulling back doesn't mean you're being cold or distant. It means you're being intentional. It means you're choosing to invest your energy where it's reciprocated, where it's appreciated, and where it contributes to your growth. It's about stepping back from situations and people that consistently leave you feeling anxious, undervalued, or drained. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remove yourself from the equation and let others feel your absence. Peace also comes from self-awareness. It comes from understanding your triggers, your needs, and your limits. It's about tuning into your inner voice and honoring what it tells you. When you feel that knot in your stomach, that tightness in your chest, or that sense of dread, pay attention. Your body is communicating with you. Don't ignore those signals. They're guiding you toward what needs to change. In relationships, protecting your peace might mean having difficult conversations, setting new expectations, or even ending connections that no longer serve you. It's not easy, but it's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't thrive in environments that constantly deplete you. Choosing peace means choosing yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Remember, not everyone will understand or support your decision to protect your peace, and that's okay. Your peace is not up for negotiation. It's not something you owe to anyone else. It's yours to guard, to nurture, and to prioritize. By pulling back, setting boundaries, and listening to your inner voice, you create a life that feels aligned, intentional, and truly yours. A man values what he fears losing. That's a truth many try to ignore, but it plays out over and over again in relationships. When something is always there, always accessible, always saying yes, it becomes part of the background. He may appreciate it on the surface, but the depth of that appreciation doesn't fully set in until the possibility of losing it becomes real. Comfort turns into complacency, and people get used to routine. They assume the support, the love, the presence will always be there no matter what. That assumption breeds laziness, and that laziness kills effort. Fear of loss wakes people up. It brings awareness to what they took for granted. When a man realizes that your love isn't a guarantee, that you're not going to stay just because you always have, he starts to see you differently, not as someone he owns, but as someone he has to choose daily. When you step back, when you stop trying to prove your worth, when you stop overcompensating for what he won't do, that's when he starts to fill the void. That's when he starts evaluating everything he didn't notice before. This is why you can't keep overextending yourself for someone who's not meeting you halfway. The more you do, the less they feel the need to. But when you stop showing up in the way they expect, when you stop carrying the whole relationship on your back, it shifts the dynamic. That shift makes them think. It creates space for reflection. It creates discomfort, and that discomfort is necessary for growth. People don't change when everything feels good. They change when the fear of loss gets louder than the comfort of routine. You shouldn't have to teach someone to appreciate you by disappearing, but sometimes that's what it takes. It's not about playing games. It's about setting the standard. It's about making it clear that you're not someone who will stay where you're not valued. That kind of presence demands respect, and that kind of potential loss demands attention. Because when a man fears losing you, that's when he starts doing the things he should have done all along. That's when he stops assuming and starts appreciating. That's when he steps up, not because he has to, but because he doesn't want to risk watching someone else value what he ignored. Walking away teaches more than words ever could. You can talk to someone 1,000 times, explain your feelings, break down every emotion you're going through, and still not be understood. You can write paragraphs, cry in front of them, express your disappointment, and plead for change. But if they're not ready to hear it, none of it will matter. Words can be powerful, yes, but they can also be ignored, twisted, or brushed aside. Action, on the other hand, is undeniable. When you walk away, you send a message that no conversation ever could. Walking away shows self-respect. It says you've had enough, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself more. It means you're done repeating yourself, done begging someone to show up, done lowering your standards just to keep someone who wouldn't raise theirs. And when you leave, it forces the other person to face a version of you they didn't think existed. The version that values peace over presence, dignity over desperation, and growth over guilt. That moment when you walk away is when reality hits. That's when the weight of your absence starts settling in. They might not say it out loud. They might even pretend not to care at first, but behind closed doors, that silence is loud. They start feeling the difference between your energy and your absence. The warmth you used to give, the way you made them feel safe, the support you always offered, it's all gone. And nothing they do fills that gap the same way. And it's in your absence that they begin to reflect, not just on what they lost, but why they lost it. They think about what they didn't do, the effort they didn't make, the chances they wasted. And that's a lesson your words never taught them, because people don't always take your pain seriously when you're still standing there trying to make it work. But when you remove yourself, when you stop arguing and start disappearing, that's when the lesson begins. That's when they realize this isn't a threat, it's a decision. Walking away isn't easy. It takes strength to leave when your heart still wants to stay. It takes courage to choose yourself when everything inside you wants closure, validation, or one more try. But the most powerful form of self-love is walking away from what no longer grows you. You can't heal in the same place that hurt you, and you can't keep explaining your worth to someone who chooses not to see it. The exit teaches more than the explanation ever could. It teaches that your standards are not up for debate. It teaches that your peace is non-negotiable. It teaches that if someone wants to be in your life, they'll have to come correct. Not because you asked them to, but because your absence demanded it. Walking away isn't giving up, it's leveling up. It's choosing yourself without saying a word.